Why the spiritually awake don't like visitors. Alan Watts. Have you ever noticed that the more aware you become of yourself, the more the noise of the world begins to feel like a burden? What once felt comfortable, the casual visits, the laughter, the endless conversations, now seems distant, almost foreign. It's not that you suddenly dislike people, it's that your spirit starts yearning for something beyond the surface, something quieter, purer, more real. When Alan Watts spoke about awakening, he didn't describe it as a glorious escape into light, but as a delicate unraveling, a peeling away of illusions that once made the world seem familiar. And when that unraveling begins, even the presence of visitors can feel like a disturbance in the stillness that your soul is learning to love. There's a strange paradox about awakening. The more conscious you become, the less you feel the need to be surrounded by others. You begin to see through the masks that people wear, the need to impress, to be seen, to fill silence with chatter. You start to feel the subtle tension that lives in the air of small talk, the emptiness hidden behind forced smiles. You sense it because you've begun to heal it within yourself. And so, being around those who still chase distraction feels like stepping into a storm after finally finding peace. The spiritually awake person doesn't avoid people out of pride or bitterness. They simply recognize that energy is fragile, and silence is precious. When a person begins to wake up, they stop identifying with the constant noise in their mind. They see how most people talk not to communicate truth, but to escape themselves. Every conversation becomes a kind of escape from presence. Every visit becomes a subtle avoidance of the self. But the awakened one has turned inward. They've faced the parts of themselves that most people run from. They've sat in that uncomfortable silence long enough to realize it isn't empty. It's alive. It's filled with clarity, with compassion, with something beyond words. Alan Watts often reminded us that to be spiritually awake is not to be detached from life, but to be deeply in tune with it. However, this tuning is delicate. It's like a string on a musical instrument. One wrong vibration and harmony is lost. Visitors in this metaphor are the vibrations of the outside world. Some come in harmony, others in dissonance. When your soul has finally found its rhythm, you can no longer bear the constant clashing tones of superficial company. You begin to guard your peace as though it were sacred ground. It's easy for the unawakened world to misinterpret this. People will say, "You've changed. You've become distant." And yes, you have changed, but not out of coldness. You've simply stopped pretending. You've stopped playing the social games that require you to laugh when you don't want to, or agree when your heart says no. You've stopped letting people drain your light just to keep them comfortable. Awakening brings the understanding that solitude is not loneliness. It is communion. Communion with the universe, with your own soul, with the divine silence that exists behind every breath. Those who have awakened begin to see that the world is addicted to noise. Every phone call, every notification, every visit is a subtle attempt to escape the stillness within. But for the awakened, stillness is home. They understand that in silence, life whispers its secrets. You begin to feel that the divine is not found in crowded rooms or loud conversations, but in the gentle rustle of leaves, in the sound of rain, in the quiet rhythm of your own heartbeat. And so, when someone knocks on the door, not to share presence but to escape their own, it feels like an intrusion on sacred ground. Watts often used the metaphor of muddy water. When stirred, it's unclear. But when left alone, it becomes transparent. The same is true for the mind. When we are constantly surrounded by others, constantly visited, constantly pulled into conversations, our inner waters remain stirred, cloudy, and restless. But when we sit alone, really alone, the mind settles. Clarity rises from the depths. Truth appears without effort. This is why the spiritually awake value their solitude. It's not that they've lost interest in people. It's that they've found something far deeper within themselves. And yet, the awakened do not reject all company. They long for presence, not performance. They are drawn to those who can sit with them in silence, who don't feel the need to fill every moment with words. The best kind of visitor, for a spiritually awake soul, is one whose presence deepens the stillness rather than disturbs it. Someone who understands that real connection doesn't come from conversation, but from awareness. When two awakened souls meet, they may not say much, but everything is understood. There's a kind of wordless communication, a vibration of peace that passes between them. For such individuals, the definition of visitor transforms. A visitor is no longer just a person who enters your home. It's any energy that enters your awareness. Even thoughts can be visitors. Emotions, memories, desires, all are visitors of the mind. And the awakened person learns not to resist or cling to them. They let everything come and go. But with people, it's different. Human energy carries intention, and intention has power. That's why they guard their space so carefully, because they know peace is fragile and awareness is sacred. It's easy to mistake the spiritually awake for being antisocial, but they are, in fact, deeply connected to existence. They see the sacred in everything. In the sunlight through the window, in the hum of distant traffic, in the stillness of midnight. They no longer need constant human interaction to feel alive. They've discovered a companionship that never leaves, the companionship of being. And once you've felt that, no visitor can compare. The world tells us that to be happy, we must be surrounded by others. But Alan Watts would say the opposite, that true happiness is found when you can sit quietly in your own company without needing anything to complete you. When that moment arrives, visitors stop being necessary. You no longer need anyone to validate your existence or distract you from your thoughts. You become enough. You become whole. And when someone does come into your space, it's not out of need, but out of resonance. A natural meeting of two complete beings. This is why, for the spiritually awake, solitude is not a retreat from life. It is life in its purest form. It is the natural state of being when all illusions fall away. And from that state, love is no longer something you give or receive. It's something you are. It flows effortlessly, silently, without words or conditions. Visitors may come and go, but the awakened one remains rooted in that eternal presence, watching, listening, being. They have found peace in being unseen, unheard, untouched by the chaos of the outer world. And though the world may not understand their silence, the awakened smile gently, for they know that the truest conversations are the ones held in silence, between the soul and the universe itself.